That's where I was at with it.
You're up, Commissioner.
All right. So what we're here is
I knew
we're
that song.
talking about vehicles and take home, and who takes them home, and why, and justifications.
All righty, perfect. Well, we have at the moment, we have 5 vehicles that are being taken home. They are all in the Road and Bridge Department. So we have the dossier system that keeps track of everything, what we do, parts, fuel, all that stuff. So we can get a cost per mile, and that's where we've kind of come up with some of our numbers. But out for them 5, and then kind of first off is
What's their titles?
what's the titles of
The 5 individuals.
Okay, director, assistant director, road manager,
Okay.
shop supervisor, and 1 assistant road manager, or assistant operations manager. And that one's McCammon.
Okay.
So, and then when winter hits, we add 2 to that. So then we'll have 7 in the winter months. That's so that we can bounce back and forth on the coverage of the weekend. And what that personnel does is, it's not necessarily the emergency, it's just that they're going out on the weekends and they make a loop. So we have 1 guy on the south end, 1 guy on the north end to centerize the people where they need to go, so that we don't just send trucks out and waste fuel. So they kind of go out and do a quick search early in the morning, and then we know we don't have to call anybody out, or we have to call out 1 person in this area or that, so they cover that whole area, but they do that every weekend.
And what's their titles?
So that's goes be assistant operation manager on both of them.
So,
Well, on 1, and the other one is Jeff.
He's just a senior.
A senior operator. So 1 senior operator and another. So we have 2 assistant operation managers in the Road and Bridge Department. So we pick up the other one in the winter.
okay.
And then in the winter months, or in the summer months, who else?
So what we've cut it down, we've actually in this last year have cut like 4 out of it. So, or 3 if you count, because some of them were only seasonal. So we used to always have 1 weed and 1 mosquito supervisor in the summer months would take a vehicle. We didn't feel that was, from what we'd looked at and what they do and what they need to do, we didn't feel that that was necessary, so we cut them out. So that we don't do any with them.
Nobody in weed and nobody in mosquito anymore.
No. Things that were going on, where some of it was like taking chemical down to McCammon for people and different things, and so it was using that to get it down there, but it's kind of goes back to where I felt we're not like a chemical sales company, and so, I mean, we can try to make it as easy as we can for the public, but we don't need to have a truck driving all around to
We have
make
an office right here.
that, so. And mosquito, it was, I could see it at some points if they were gonna be the one fogging or something, so they take the fogger and then they're gonna fog. Kinda like me and Tyson, the one year, we were taking the fogger truck home, but we were gonna fog that night, and then we just drove back to work in the morning. But the one that was the supervisor isn't doing any of the night stuff anyway, so our fogging personnel is. So I don't feel that that one was necessary. The other one is, we used to have 2 at the landfill that used to drive vehicles, and we don't have anybody at the landfill. I guess the reasoning I have in there is, I think we've kind of discussed it a little before, but what my thoughts are there is them people, when they're gonna get called in, it's that's where they're getting called to. What makes it hard for the road and bridge staff is we don't know, and the county's pretty big, we don't know what end. If we knew that, well, I'm just gonna get called to my office, it's one thing, but if we go to get called out, if I get called out for Marimo or Lava or whatever, then I have to drive and get a vehicle, then take that vehicle to there, then be at the scene or site or whatever, and then when I'm done, I gotta drive the vehicle back, which is farther. And so it's the same kind of thing with winter. Say we have a person in Lava that has the take-home vehicle. In the winter, he would have to drive to McCammon, that's where he's based out of, get the pickup to drive back to his area to run the roads to see what the condition was, and then drive it back. So that's where we're seeing the time savings that we were gonna talk about. But so first off, what we came out with is we travel, us five travel about 23,000. Well, not about, this is pretty precise from our fuel records and dossier with the fleet management. And then we took exact mileage to each person's house when we do that too. So it's counting that every day going to the house. So within the year, it's 23,876 miles that is being spent driving to and from home by these employees. So then we have an accurate cost per mile on each vehicle, and each one's a little different, whether it's a 3/4 ton or it's a gas or how new. So it's actually their cost per mile for each one. But what we come out with is we have $5,681 for them miles in a cost, because most cost per mile's around 46 cents
26.
or 26 cents. So saying that to be able to match that cost, we have to what's required to match? We have to have 198 hours to match that at an average of $28 per hour. So if we were just calling out somebody else, because these are most all of them are all salary. So we're kind of, that's the other place we're kind of saving, is because the hours of pay is all of us are salary versus hourly. So with that, and an average call out time of 3 hours, it's going to take and we have an average for each one of us is 2 call outs per month is what, because we have real busy times and then we have less busy times, but it averaged out to 2 call outs per month per employee. So that's 120 call outs. You do the $28.58 at 120, that's 10,288. So just with the call out time, we're saving the county money versus the 6,800, and them's not like completely exact, but I mean, we're not costing taxpayers any money just by looking at it that way. But then we also use the vehicles we're checking things on our way home. We might say, well, when I head home, I'm gonna hit Lava and then go home and different things. So we're utilizing them all the time, a lot of us. That's where probably me and him use them a lot too, but some of the reasons why we're using them is kind of like I said, it's pretty much, I look at it as 3 things. It's money savings, time savings, and your I went blank. Um, for-
Response time?
No, your response time, your cost, and then your, employee, no,
Perk.
it's not,
We're very careful with our words on that one.
That's why I was helping.
but it does make the employees take care of their vehicle better and stuff like that, but it does make them feel more proud of what they're doing, and, you know, you get a lot out of that also. Just like last weekend, we had 3 call-outs, just this last weekend. One was fuel systems went down. You got police trying to get fuel. We go in to get that. We had a bridge get hit. We had a car burned to the ground in the middle of the road. So, that we do, I mean, buddy's got a list of things, but I mean, you got rocks on the road, trees on the road. There's so many things, dead animals. It's weekly that we get something that we're called to come do. So then it was asked once, well then why don't you just call somebody in to get that? So what we have right now is, we have these supervisors. Why we do it is because we've got to assess the situation and see what we need. Somebody says there's a rock on the road. We've had it before that said there's a rock on the road. What do you send to clean it off the road? Do you send a grader, a broom? We got called about a rock and it was as big as the loader. So you got to get there. So that's what ours is our vehicles are equipped with lighted device. Besides the truck, we have, instead of like flares, we have lighted. So if it's getting dark or anything like that, warning. We have our stop paddles. We have all the gear for traffic control while we're there. So our first thing is we're there to assess and make things safe for the public. Once we see what it is, then we call somebody in of, hey, I need a loader and I need 1 guy, 2 guys. And then we sit there with it while they do it. And so we're the flagger. That's, if you just say, hey, head out, there's a tree on the road, it might be a stick on the road, and we just, or it might be small enough that we can hook our chain to it and drag it the rest of the way off the road, and we're good for the day and we go home. But if you send somebody and they go out and look and they don't bring the right equipment, then they head back to the shop. But the thing that helps with, like the sheriff department, is, say it's a tree on the road, they call us in or they're on site, they have to sit there for public safety until we do something. So now you're taking their time, where instead of our vehicle goes up and does it, you're pulling an officer that's busy anyway, sitting there with a tree on the road. So that's where the part of us coming in to do ours. Most everything we get called in on emergencies, we're having a supervisor out anyway. So it's kind of like, why not have our ones that are on salary, but to try to save.
So do you ever take your families in the cars, trucks?
Nope.
No.
I've took my wife before, and she's a Bannock County employee too. No, we don't use them for anything but work. That's why I've been trying to write up with the fleet management, is to pull from, I've visited with every county in this area, every city, state. The state does take home, every city does, Pocatello does. Pocatello even goes a couple tiers lower than what we're, I mean, they have lead or supervise or seniors take vehicles home. Bingham County, they even go a tier lower than what we're doing.
Well, we're raising the bar, so quit going lower.
Well, no, that's what
I'm
I'm saying.
saying, Pocatello, quit going lower. We're raising the bar.
We're raising the bar. We're higher than any, well, like Bingham Solid Waste people, they have a couple people, and one of them lives here in Pocatello that drive their vehicles home for their solid waste.
And they haul it here.
Yeah, I think we're trying to keep it as minimal as we can and as efficient as we can. Part of the, like what I'm trying to get to, there's a lot of different things to look at. You could do a mileage, that if anybody's taking something, gonna take it home, they have to live within a certain mileage, a certain time frame. Some of them things that you could look at for these. There's one that's, you can't live out of county. Then the other thing is the tax part.
Taxable fringe, which none of road and bridge vehicles are currently being taxed because they fall within the exemption of it's a marked vehicle. And they have what's considered by prior legal a permanent forfeit. So the thought behind that is it won't be used for personal use because it's.
So like our shop truck, he has his own tools, but he has a full set of tools in his shop truck, and fuel and everything. So a lot of times his are fuel system is at the shop, but then his are stuff like, the grader or a snow plow going down after hours. His is a lot more winter than summer. They still get quite a few different little things in the summer, but each one of us, like I said, we have all different traffic control stuff in there. We have chains, we have a set of tools, we have fuel in each vehicle.
You never have enough spare tires.
We don't have very good tires on them.
Just speaking from experience.
Who gets two flat tires in one day?
One day in 30 minutes, 15 minutes.
That extra fuel came in handy though, huh?
Yeah, we run out of fuel too. So, I don't know. We're not evaluating the director. Anyway, so, and I appreciate the justifications, and I'll tell you, just like we're telling everybody else, we're evaluating the situations. We're looking at budgets right now, we're looking at every avenue and direction. Some of the things I agree with you, and some of them I don't. I don't know why the shop guy would take a truck home, because you could pick up a county vehicle with the same equipment by driving to the shop and going wherever. I mean, these are some of the discussions that we'll end up having.
And like I was kind of telling Buddy, it's hard on the where they're at located because things change. And I think at one point, especially, your shop boss lived over here, then he lived over there, and so it was like, oh, this is more convenient. And so it kind of always is changing whether you live here or there, because that changes things on where you live.
And then how do you choose which operations or assistant operations manager takes the truck home and which one does it during the winter?
So we have the McCammon, because we have the operations manager on this end, and so that's what makes sense, is we have one of the assistants on that end, because that's where they're based out of, but we
Well, I'm
have a
just
north
saying
and
that-
south.
How do you choose? Is that one in McCammon then, it's just winter that takes it home?
No, it's year round.
Oh, I thought you said you had two that are just winter, and one of them was the shop.
Two that we add to the winter, so then in the winter time, we have two out of McCammon, two out of Pocatello. One in McCammon is an assistant operations manager, and the other one's a senior. And in Pocatello end, it's the operations manager and the assistant manager. We have to have two to rotate, because everybody don't want to work every day, so we rotate them weekly.
Okay.
One unique thing we have too, I think that's kind of cool, is we're all spread out throughout the county. So we can get to a situation fairly quickly. I usually can cover Ingham and part of Pocatello. Rowdy covers the rest of Pocatello, the Flats. He covers McCammon to Aramo. And then Tracy, yeah, he'll cover the lab area. So that's kind of unique with our department right now. But
Well, not everybody's always there, so we try to start out with and even the sheriff department has our locations and our numbers, so they know how to call for what. But yeah, if somebody's gone, then we go to the next closest or the next available, and that's how we kind of rotate through. But
And so you answer them guys when they call or they're messing.
You gotta get yours to say unavailable, I guess. Well, they call right in the middle of the night normally.
Mine was at 8:30 when I came home from the hot baths. Any other questions, comments?
No, we answered all the questions that we
Yeah,
had.
me too. My biggest curiosity was, where do you get called out? If you get called in, where do you report to first? And then how often? And you answered both of those questions, so.
Okay,
Good?
thank you very much.
Okay.